It's just information that you're giving anyway, so don't. And then the other thing
Exactly.
that I know a lot of brokers get hung up about, and I've been challenged myself by other firm owners, and so I said, "Well, how do you get your podcast through compliance? How do you do that?" They
Oh
said,
yeah.
"Well," and Ash covered this on the podcast a few Ash Boland covered it on a few weeks ago on this podcast. So saying it's not, if there's no call to action, if you're not sort of talking about a rate, or you're not sort of saying call me now, and you're not selling something, and there's no call to action, it's fine. There's no compliance FCA regulation around that, because it's just a conversation. So because you can imagine trying to script a podcast from an
Oh
FCA point of view would just take weeks. I couldn't do it. I would never be able to do it. Whereas
no.
with this, there's no, and with any podcast, it's going back to what you said, it's just information. It's just talking about things that brokers talk about every
It
single
is.
day.
It is, and don't get me wrong. I mean, in terms of compliance, we still have to be careful of certain terms that we use. But I suppose as a broker, you already know that to an extent. Um, but I suppose spoken conversation, sometimes you just say what you think. It's not as easy as editing an article, for example. So you do have to be careful. But it's not. You know what you're talking about. You know what you can and can't say, and I think that's the thing. It's just yeah, you can get around it and get by it, and we've been doing this for a long time now. Well, I've been with the lead engine. I think it's 10 months now, so it'll be a year
Wow.
in January. So you can imagine I've done a lot of episodes since then with different clients. And okay, there's been a few little holdups, but not many, and we've got around them. It's not difficult, and of course we push for more and more people to do more and more episodes, because that's what people want to hear. I think a lot of people, I mean, in my opinion, would rather listen to something while they're doing something else than read.
Yeah.
It's only because you can lose concentration reading. But if you also with the episodes that we do, that they're quite short, they're 10 to 15 minutes. Sometimes we expand because they're on set topics. So obviously we don't want to overload the listener, but we just want to give them enough advice so that that helps them, and it answers the questions that they're putting into Google and asking Google. And it's just, I think, easy for somebody to click on an episode and listen and get the answers that they need.
Exactly. Like, look, whatever time of day it is, whether they're commuting to work, people are now
Yeah,
back commuting, or
yeah,
having the lunch, or preparing dinner, or anything like that. It's just then thinking, well, it's just now, it's just getting some information.
yeah.
I was just thinking then when you sort of said about your clients, thinking, because I talk about mortgages are boring. I always sort of say that, who wants to talk about mortgages? So that, and that's the thing with mortgage brokers, they have that mindset. Who wants to listen to
Yeah.
somebody talking about mortgages? But actually, people do. Like, you give me
Oh,
feedback like a while, like sort of saying, "Oh, I learned about
yes.
this on the podcast. Editing your podcast, I learned about that." So people, because a mortgage broker talks about it, and in the day in day out,
Yeah,
and the view is it is boring, because it is. But then for somebody else who's wanting to know that and wanting to learn about
yeah,
what this is and that is, because it goes back to mortgage brokers using jargon and getting jargon out there, making them feel more important. If they're talking all jargon and terms of SVRs and LTVs and things like that, and the client's going, "I've got no idea what you're talking about," then that just makes them feel a little bit more important. It's not about that, is it? That it's about giving
no.
the answering the questions that customers have got.